my work very much focuses on what's making you happy now, because your subconscious wants you to be happy and wants you to be safe, in that order. When you're little, children are always looking for things that make them happy. Might not be things that keep them safe, but things that make them happy. As adults, we do a lot of things that make us really happy, but like getting on a fast horse or jumping out of a plane with a bag on our back or going skiing off piste, all these things are inherently dangerous. Not so much horses, but some horses.
Really?
But they make us very happy. So the subconscious is saying, okay, we are always going to be looking for happiness. So just to give you a bit of background, I was a mortgage broker for 20 years in London and then in Dublin. I moved to Ireland in 1995. So when I moved over to Portugal, it was like, okay, what am I going to do? And always had a lifelong ambition to have a horse, one horse. But then you soon find out you can't just have one horse. You have to have a second horse to keep the first horse company. Then you have to get a third horse in case two of you want to go riding. Anyway, one point we had 10 horses. We've now got 5 and they're all old. They're mid-20s. So when they go, that's kind of it. And a long story short, but I did what's called equine assisted training, which is training people, but using horses as the trainers. Because horses are brilliant at reading body language. They are non-judgmental. If you want a horse to do something, you have to form a relationship with it. You can't just pick it up and carry it. So that was really interesting and loved doing it. But then, of course, COVID came along and we had to close down. So we couldn't have people here. I was really bored. So I started studying CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which I really like because it's very solution focused and it's got a set time frame. But it wasn't quite what I was looking for. So as part of my research, I was looking into anxiety. And I came across Tim Box because he's got a very well-known TEDx called How to Not Be Anxious About Anxiety. And I just went, yeah, that's the guy I need to talk to. That's what I need to be doing. So I got in touch with him and I did the training with him. And that was coming up for 4 years ago now. So, yeah. What's your background?
My background is I was a massage therapist in my 20s until I burnt out. So I did all kinds of courses, aromatherapy, reflexology, shiatsu, polarity. I became a Reiki master. Then I did quantum touch. I just kept going on and learning all these amazing things. And then I just burnt out. I had too many clients and my body couldn't take it. And so I landed up on a sort of health journey, healing journey of my own. I found my way into network marketing and became the head of network marketing for a company in nutritional supplements, which sadly closed down. And then fortunately met my husband. I landed up working with him. I had my son at 40. We decided that I would stop working. I became a digital entrepreneur and built websites. And then I realized I need to get back into health and wellness. And that's why I got into the coaching.
Okay.
So I became a transformation life coach. I've always been into this mind, body, spirit connection. I have a deep interest in the mind. So that's, I guess, how I found my way to positive intelligence. Have you also gone back to a bit of your equine work? It sounds like you still do a bit of that as well, or not?
Not really. The horses, it's not taxing work for them, but we do a little bit of train the trainer. So we have the country license for Portugal, so we can train other people to do the same thing. But really only if people come to us. I don't promote it at all. In fact, we must get around to actually selling that because somebody else could probably do a lot more with it. But yeah, it was great because even if people have experience with horses, they didn't do the sort of exercises that we did, which was literally just standing next to a horse with your hand on its heart. And the horse is aware of your heartbeat from 4 feet away. And so people would just allow their breathing to align with the horse's breathing. And invariably you'd have a big guy and he'd have tears pouring down his face. Oh,
that's so beautiful.
Really good. Yeah.
Did you have anyone with a fear of horses? Because now you've done the hypnosis as well, because I'm afraid of horses.
Yes.
Because I was bitten and kicked and thrown and too many things in my life. And I'm like, they're big and scary.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a number of people who would come and go, yeah, I'm just going to start from outside the field. I'm going to have a barrier between me and the horse. And I can't remember anybody not, by the end of the day, hugging the horse and, arms around the horse's neck and no, I don't want to let go kind of thing.
Oh,
Because the
wow. That
horses
must
were
be so
very much in
amazing.
their own environment and they were very relaxed and happy and curious
Wow.
about people.
Wow.
So yeah, it was
That is so
great.
beautiful.
Yeah.
When you were talking about the horses and how you can't have one, you've got to have two. There's this one meme on Instagram that I saw that says, you're a certain age when you're accumulating rescue animals,
Yeah.
like you're getting more and more animals. Like I got one dog and then I got a second dog, and now we'd love to rescue a cat as well. And
Yeah. Yeah.
in fact, every little dog I see, I was like, oh, I want that little kitten. Oh, I want that. I'm definitely that age.
Yeah, I saw a little video on Facebook the other day. This guy was saying horses are really good for mental health. So I got this horse to help me with my trauma, but then I fell off him. And then I got that horse to help, but I got PTSD because I fell off him. So I got that horse. And now I've got 16 horses.
It's just like your story.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, so I guess once that bug bites, it's just, I mean, animals are just incredible, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we've
They're
got
just
6 dogs, we've
incredible.
got chickens, we've got a couple of goats. And the thing is, people say animals are a tie, and they are, but if you're tied to the property with one animal, you might as well be tied to the property with 20 or 30.
Exactly. This is exactly why I'm trying to convince my husband that we move to a small holding so that the dogs are happy. And he's like, what should the humans come first? No, the dogs must be happy. They need a farm. They need to be able to run around. That's my next goal.
That is a goal, definitely.
It is. So talk to me about the work you do now, Sarah. You're a hypnotherapist, right?
No, it's a little bit semantic. So you've got stage hypnosis, which everybody's aware of, where people are put into a trance and they do stupid things, and
Yeah,
it's really
don't
good
like that.
entertainment. But what that does is make people a little bit afraid of being put into a trance, losing control, being made to do something stupid and not being aware of it. Hypnotherapy's been around for years and is as effective as the person who's doing it. But again, it involves trance. It involves you are feeling sleepy, your eyes are closing, stuff like that. Tim Box, who was a very successful hypnotherapist, decided one day, and I think it was just a whim, to say, I wonder if I can do this without the trance bit, without the necessity for putting somebody into a trance. And he found that it was actually more effective than putting somebody to sleep, because if the conscious mind is awake, it can participate. So hypnotherapy is effectively a conversation between the conscious mind of the therapist and the subconscious mind of the client. I won't say patient, it's a protected term, the client. But with hypnotherapy, it's a one-way conversation because the person can't respond, they can't answer questions. Often hypnotherapists will use a script. That's what they're told. This person wants to stop smoking, therefore this is a script for non-smoking.
Right.
So what remedial hypnosis is, it uses hypnotic techniques in that we talk to the subconscious, but the person is awake. They know what's going on. They often have their eyes closed, but that's as far as it goes. So whilst I'm still talking to the subconscious is talking back. And the way we do that, some people actually use what's called direct voice, where the subconscious takes over the voice box and will speak. I've never done that. I've seen it done and it's amazing, but I've never actually done it. But we use what's called IMRs, which is an ideomotor response. It works on the basis that the subconscious can move any part of your body at any time. We both talk with our hands. Now, we're not consciously deciding what our hands are doing, they're just moving.
Right.
So we harness that ability, and I will say to the client, I would like your subconscious to move a finger for yes, and all of a sudden that will go, and they'll go, whoa, what's going on here? My finger's moving. And I say, it's okay, it's your subconscious that's moving it. You're not consciously doing it. And then we get another finger for no, so that we can have a very basic yes and no conversation.
Got it.
But the advantage of the client being awake, or one of the many advantages, is that if we hit a roadblock, let's say with smoking, we don't do that much smoking cessation anymore because not many people smoke. Yeah, I gave up after 50 years.
Well done, you. That's amazing.
So what we'll say is, okay, this person wants to give up smoking. can we give up smoking? And it comes up with a, I'm not quite sure. So I will say to the subconscious mind, can you put into this person's conscious mind what the problem is? And the person, the one I'm thinking of, goes, oh, the thought just popped into my head, I'm going to put on weight. So we get the objection in real time, and we're able to deal with that objection in real time.
Yeah.
So I was able to explain to the subconscious, we are not going to be substituting one thing for another. We are just stopping smoking.
Right.
You know, you're not going to be eating more because you just don't want to smoke anymore. So you're not going to want to look for a substitute. And then I asked the question again, are you happy to give up smoking? Yes. Oof, done. So it's very practical. It's very pragmatic. It's very, this is the issue. We measure where the client is at the start of the process, and then we measure where they are at the end of the process. So we're very much looking at results. A lot of people say, well, why don't you just concentrate on smoking or weight loss or whatever? And I'd hate to do that because I work with such a wide range of issues. In the last few weeks, I've worked with somebody who is an alcoholic. I've worked with somebody who self-harmed through hate, self-hate and depression, and somebody who is afraid of driving over bridges. All sorts of things. Basically, whatever the mind can learn, the mind can unlearn.
Right. And does the subconscious sometimes bring up past life stuff, or is it always in the here and now?
I personally don't do any past life regression because I don't believe in it. We have one life and that's it. Some people work with it, but it's not something that I have interest. Most of the stuff that we deal with comes from childhood. From that first 10 years where our core beliefs about ourselves and about the world and about other people are formed. I always use a personal example. I used to wear flip-flops when I was a kid. All kids wear flip-flops. And when I was perhaps 5, 6, 7 years old, I don't know how old I was, but I got a blister between my toes. And my mum said, well, your feet are now the wrong shape for flip-flops. Probably because she didn't want to have to deal with any more blisters. And from that moment on, that belief that my feet were the wrong shape for flip-flops stayed with me until I was 60.
Wow.
It wasn't even a matter of thinking about flip-flops and then rejecting them. My brain just blanked that out. You cannot wear flip-flops. And I've got a pair of flip-flops behind me that I show to people and go, it took me 50 plus years to realize that that belief was not true. And it's a very innocuous one, and it's not ruined my life or anything, but
it just without flip-flops.
Yeah. What I've achieved in my life if I've worn flip-flops. It just shows how powerful that a little seed that is sown can grow and can just change the way you think about things. The more obvious one is the fear of spiders or snakes. If a grandparent or a parent sees a spider and reacts with fear, then your instinctive reaction is to do the same, to copy them, because that's how you survive. But unless that belief is disabused at some point later on in life, you're always going to carry it. So I would say 95% of the stuff I deal with is based in childhood. And people go, oh, well, I had a lovely childhood. They assume that if there is something based in childhood, then there was abuse or there was neglect or something. No, it can just be something like a drunken uncle saying you've got knobbly knees, your knees are awful when you're
an
8 years
innocent
old.
Comment that we take badly. Children take things so literally. It could even be a joke that someone says, and we get it because you're a child.
Yeah, because you don't have the capacity, you don't have the cognitive ability to go, well, hang on, what I am being told here is incorrect. I'm going to go and look it up, ask somebody else. You're like a sponge at that age. You just absorb everything.
Exactly. So I actually have a theory on the past life thing that might be interesting to you, might open something up. And that is that I think that it could be ancestral experiences. So somewhere in our ancestry, somebody experienced something and we see that as a past life. It might just be that we're remembering something that passed down in our line, just like we got hair color from our family.
Yeah, I'm very much sort of science-based, and unless and until somebody says, yes, we can find a genetic code for things that happened to our forebears.
I think it's just memories that get passed down.
How?
Well, we have so much that we can't understand on the genes, but we're getting to understand more and more and more. Quantum physics probably can explain it in a better way than I can, because everything is consciousness, and consciousness existed before and after. So maybe our consciousness did too.
Yeah.
I do believe our soul lives on. My mom had a experience of dying and seeing her body and choosing to come back. I haven't personally had a near-death experience, but I'm very interested in it all.
It's a subject that I don't think we'll ever get to the bottom of, and probably all the better for it, because then we still have debate. But I've seen enough dead animals to know that once you're gone, you're gone. And I don't think we're any different.
Oh, don't you remember the song Tig died 3 years ago? Do you remember that old song?
No.
Our parents would play it on our trips. This guy comes back from the army and it's misty and he's trying to get to the house, and his dog arrives and shows him the way, and he gets into the house, and then the mom says, Tig died 3 years ago. And we're all crying.
I hate to tell you, son, she said, but now you've got to know. When you left, it broke his heart. Tig died 3 years ago.
Okay, no, that one passed me by. My work very much focuses on what's making you happy now, because your subconscious wants you to be happy and wants you to be safe, in that order. When you're little, children are always looking for things that make them happy. Might not be things that keep them safe, but things that make them happy. As adults, we do a lot of things that make us really happy, but like getting on a fast horse or jumping out of a plane with a bag on our back or going skiing off piste, all these things are inherently dangerous. Not so much horses, but some horses.
Really?
But they make us very happy. So the subconscious is saying, okay, we are always going to be looking for happiness. And the issues come when the subconscious devised a strategy for happiness when we were little, or for safety. So if you grew up in a household which was fractious or parents were arguing, the subconscious say, we need to be small, we need to be unseen, we need to be quiet, because that is going to keep us safe, because this atmosphere is not safe. And that person will grow up to be an adult who daren't raise their voice, who is afraid of being seen, afraid of being themselves. So what I do is I talk to that part of the subconscious and said, look, you've done an amazing job. You had to do what you had to do back then. But this person is now an adult. And that strategy is actually holding them back. It's not allowing them to be happy, allowing them to be themselves. So can we change it, please? And the great thing about the subconscious is that things are either yes or no, black or white, right or wrong. There's no, oh, well, I'm not sure about this. It's just, okay, I didn't realize that I can change now, so I'll change. And as long as the subconscious can understand why you want it to change and can see the benefits, then the change is pretty much instantaneous.
Wow, that is beautiful. So now that brings us to your take on saboteurs, because I'd love to hear. I think I'm starting to understand what your take is on saboteurs.
Yeah.
Do you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would encounter saboteurs in probably 40 to 50% of clients. And a saboteur, how old is your child now?
12.
He's 12. Okay. So when something happens, let's make up a scenario, but parents have a really bad argument, or something happens, but you blame yourself. God, I'm so stupid. God, I shouldn't have done that. A part of your subconscious will absorb that blame, and they will be ostracized by the rest of the crew, the rest of the subconscious. And it's a little bit like a group of children are playing nicely, and then one of them does something that the rest of the group finds unacceptable. It could be real, it could be a misunderstanding, but that part of the subconscious is ostracized, is pushed out. And they're standing on the side of the playing field, throwing stones at everybody else, because if I'm not happy, I don't want you to be happy either. So what I do is, if I suspect there's a saboteur as part of the subconscious, I will say, does all the subconscious want Lauren to be happy? And if a no response comes up, because the default position is we want you to be happy. If a no comes up, I'll say, okay, is there a part of the subconscious which is really unhappy? Yes. Okay. Can I talk to that part of the subconscious? So I will talk to that part of the subconscious, normally on another hand. We start playing pianos. So I will talk to that part of the subconscious and say, look, whatever you did, whatever you got blamed for, whatever hurt that you got, can you let it go? If you can let it go, I can put you back with the rest of the subconscious so you can all work together. And invariably, long story short, invariably, we can get the subconscious all working together again. And wow. Very often the person will come back to me and say, you know, that bit of my subconscious which I rejected or I blamed, I know what it was. Because often they can't remember it, but they'll come back and go, oh God, yes, that time where I really hated a bit of myself.
It's kind of a disowned self.
Effectively, yes. The way that I explain to clients, the way the mind works is like a ship. So if you imagine your mind is like a ship, and like every ship, you've got a captain, which is the logical, conscious part of your mind, which can think very deeply and can problem solve and look forward to the future. But there's only one captain on board the ship. So you can't multitask. You can only concentrate on one or two things at a time. The crew is the subconscious. And there are lots of crew members, and they've all got their individual jobs to do. So one might be in charge of driving your car because you don't consciously think about all the things that you need to do when you're driving. You just do it. And that member of the crew go, yeah, I've got that. But there are all these crew members and they all have their individual tasks. So if a crew member absorbed the blame, absorbed the hate, absorbed the guilt for something, and the rest of the crew said, no, we don't want you here anymore. You go over there. That's when we do the saboteur work and we bring that crew member back in. I don't tend to use labels because your crew are all sort of individuals. Some people think of traditional sailing ships. Guys often think of the Starship Enterprise, Star Trek. And you've got all the crew members running around below deck and doing their stuff. So it's a good image to help people to understand how their mind works. Because the subconscious can't problem solve. It can't work things out. It doesn't recognize time, for example. So if something happened when you were little, as far as the subconscious is concerned, that is still happening today, unless and until it learns otherwise.
So how do you typically work with someone? So if they come to you, do they generally come for one session, you clear something, and then they keep coming back to clear more parts of it? Or is it generally one session and one and done?
It's neither. So I always start with a free consultation because I need to make sure that we can work together and that the subconscious is willing and able to respond. About 10 to 15% of people, their fingers just don't move and they say, no, can't feel anything, nothing's happening. And at that point, I'll say, well, we can't go any further. But I always give people a free hour. And I always say to them, they'll know themselves better at the end of the hour than they did at the start, even if we don't do anything. Then we have 3 sessions, 3 change sessions to complete the work. The majority of the work is done in session 1. Session 2 and 3 are just tweaking and making sure everything's okay. But in session 3, I teach them how to use this technique for themselves. Because much as my accountant would love me to have lots of repeat clients coming back and paying me again and again, for me, it's much more empowering that they become their own therapist and that they can talk to their own subconscious. Because once you can do that, once you have that ability, you can figure out anything. And again, I'll give an example from my own life. Earlier this year, I went to Salzburg in Austria. And I didn't know that Salzburg is famous for salt. But
oh, that makes sense now.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? So one of the trips was into a salt mine, which is way underground, under a mountain. Now, there was a little part of my crew that said, there is 1 billion tons of rock on top of your head. I'm quite scared. And I literally, behind my back, I just held my own hand. And in my head, I spoke to that part of the subconscious, said, it's okay, I've got you. You're fine. Because your subconscious is very childlike. Sometimes all it needs is that reassurance to say, Mum's here. You've got a child. You know what it's like. There's a monster under my bed. And that was it. My anxiety, my sense of fear just vanished. Had a great time. So there's loads of practical things, and you don't have, after a while, people don't need to use their fingers. They can just have that conversation inside their head and go, okay, what are we worried about? Is this worry relevant? Is it necessary? Pain, you can very easily get rid of pain if it's not doing anything useful.
Wow. What about serious chronic pain? Because I have a client who has really chronic pain from an up that went wrong, and now she's got, that idea that you spoke about, the anxiety of having anxiety.
Yeah.
She, I think, now creates the pain in her head because she's anticipating the pain. Yes. And she said there's certain pathways, she's explained it to me, that cause the pain to still exist.
Yeah. If she's been medically signed off, if there's no physical reason for the pain, then absolutely.
No, there is physical reason for the pain. Yeah, they did nerve damage. So she's been signed off as a disabled patient.
Okay. But if the pain doesn't have a purpose anymore, so pain is there to protect you from doing further damage to the part of the body and to allow that part of the body to heal. If both of those things have happened, I'll always have a conversation with anybody.
Wow.
Yeah,
that'd be
I worked with somebody recently with tinnitus. Now, I've never worked with tinnitus before. I didn't know if it would work, but we got her down from a consistent 4 or 5 to a 0.5. And she said, to be honest, I don't notice it anymore. And that's been going on for years. So
that is amazing.
Yeah. In terms of my work, anything the brain can learn, it can unlearn. We're born with 2 fears. We're born with the fear of loud noises, and we're born with the fear of being dropped.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Anything else we've learned.
Yeah.
And if we've learned it, we can unlearn it.
I love that. So I love your approach. So would you like to share a few of your favorite stories of clients that have had amazing results? And let's bring it into reinvention if we can, or midlife.
Yeah, absolutely. I can think of 2, and more will come to me, but one of my very earliest clients was a lady who is an incredibly talented musician. She plays 7 instruments. She speaks loads of languages. She's just one of these people who picks up an instrument and plays it. And she's a harpist. That's her main thing. But the problem is she was suffering from stage fright. And she literally couldn't bear people filming her or taking photographs of her or even looking at her. It made her really miserable. And she came to me and said she'd had hypnotherapy before, which had worked for a while, but it had come back. And what we worked out was, when she was little, she thinks probably about 4 or 5 years old, she was told off for showing off. A very favorite teacher something had happened and she'd known the answer to a question. I can't remember the exact story, but she developed this belief that showing off, that being smart, that showing that she could do something was bad. So although she had all these talents, she felt very uncomfortable being on stage, being looked at. And once we cleared that, she's now on television. She is doing all sorts of things where she's quite happy to be on camera. And the other one, which was much more recent, was a lady who contacted me because she'd been agoraphobic for 15 years. She'd never left the house. But her daughter was due to have a baby, and she wanted to be there for the birth. And we did a couple of sessions, and she was able to go to the baby shower. She was able to go and sit in a pub garden for an hour. And then something happened. I think she had a medical review and she said, look, I'm going to have to stop the therapy. So we hadn't done the final sessions. And then several weeks later, I get a photograph from her. And there she's cutting the baby's umbilical cord. So she was in the hospital and she said, this is the most amazing feeling. And I never thought I could have ever achieved this.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got goosebumps. That is so beautiful.
And that just came straight out of the blue. I thought, well, I'll never find out what happened there, but she was good enough to send me a photo.
Oh, that is so lovely.
And it's things like that you see. If you get somebody who has a fear of spiders, my service is quite expensive. So if somebody comes to me and says, I want to get rid of a fear of spiders, often I say, just avoid spiders. It's cheaper. But for a lot of people, it's absolutely life-changing. And it really is. They can't imagine how their life will change. And then it does. And it's like, wow, I never expected this to happen. And so fast.
Wow.
Yes.
So I started doing a hypnotherapy course, and what the guy said was that when you start working with a client, what they think is the problem is not the actual problem. But I've never quite understood exactly how they do that. Find that core issue. Do you already go into the unconscious to find the core issue? So they present with something. So say now they come in and they say, well, I want to stop eating chocolate every day.
Yeah.
You know, and you realize it's not just the emotional eating. There's something else underneath that.
Yes. You got to remember that the subconscious is in charge of the emotions. You can't consciously, if I said to you now, get angry, the only way you'd be able to get angry is to either go to your memories or to your imagination to get that emotion. So your subconscious is in charge of your emotions, creativity, memories, imagination, all your automatic thoughts and actions. So when things like alcohol abuse or drug abuse, the addiction is not the problem. The addiction is a way of trying to solve the original problem. Okay, it's self-soothing. Food is often self-soothing. And there's actually a CBT technique called the downward arrow. So you could say, well, what's your problem? I eat too much. Well, what does that say about you? It says I'm greedy. Well, what does that say about you? I used to eat too much when I was a kid because mum and dad were fighting. What does that say about you? I'm not good enough. 99 times out of 100, you will get to that original feeling, I'm not good enough. It could be I'm not tall enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not clever enough, whatever.
But for some reason, I've been left wanting or whatever.
Or I have a belief that I need to change and I don't know how to change. Or again, imagine if when you had your child, you said, well, there's a child here. I'm not going to love it yet. I'm going to check to see if it's good at school, or if it's good at sports, or if it's popular at school, or good looking. So once it's done, fulfilled all those things, then I'll love it. But you know, let's wait a minute.
Sadly, I think some parents are like that. Sadly, but
But we do that with ourselves. I will be happy with myself when I'm 5 kilos lighter. I'll be happy with myself when I've got that job. I'll be happy with myself when I've got a partner. Why not just be happy with yourself now, and then these things will come.
That's what I've always said, that the core of every problem is some kind of lack of self-esteem. There's some kind of self-esteem issue there. So sometimes it's I'm too much or I'm not enough of something. In fact, probably people have both. Like at some stages, some parts of them, they were told they too much, and other people said they were too little, you know, and they just take it on.
And again, it often comes down to that first 10 years because there's no captain on board. We don't have the ability to go, well, you're telling me I'm not this, and why does that matter? I'm still your child. But a lot of people say, I was born anxious, or I had no self-confidence when I was a child. How many children do you know who will just crawl naked into a room full of people and sit there and laugh? That's the ultimate self-confidence. You know, you are born the most confident you'll ever be because you don't know any better. You don't know that you need to change the way that you are to please people.
Yes, exactly. So the work we do with the saboteurs in positive intelligence is identifying, because it's different for each person. So somebody would choose the victim saboteur because they feel they're not good enough and that life is really hard for them, and they take on that poor me persona because generally they've had a very abusive or controlling childhood. And so that's why they go victim. But a pleaser is I'm only good enough when I'm pleasing others. That's when I can see that I'm good enough. So it's nuanced. And then there's the stickler because they feel, oh, if I'm not perfect, then I'm not good enough. So it is all based on the not good enough framework. But it's nuanced according to what their childhood was like and what was said to them. And so it's just identifying each specific one.
Yeah.
So the avoider, for example, they will say, I need to keep the peace. I need to have harmony. So I can't have conflict. And it's running away from that conflict. So I'm going to avoid anything that doesn't feel good to me.
Yeah.
So they're all slightly different, but they all boil down to the judge. The main one is the judge, judge of self, judge of circumstances, judge of others. It's that we're always judging, but at the core, we judge ourselves. And the more we judge ourselves, the more harshly we judge others and the environment and the circumstances, and the harder life is. The more judgy we are, the harder life is. What changes have happened in your own life since you've done this work?
God, in my own life. So quit smoking after 50 years.
Amazing.
Stopped taking sleeping pills, cut out chocolates and biscuits. I'm just a better person because I know why I do things. I know why I think the way I do. I talk to my subconscious constantly. You know, I'm just chatting away, and not in the supermarket, obviously. But yeah, it's knowing that I am in control, that I don't need to fear my emotions. I understand why I feel the way I do, and I can control my reactions. Still have rows in my partner occasionally, but you become much calmer and much more level and much more aware of who you are and why you are.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And are the rows with your partner, just as a matter of interest, are they always about the same things?
Again, give you an example. James's mind always is on the next thing. So he used to go into the bathroom, switch the light on, come out, just walk away, not switching the light off. And that used to drive me nuts. And then I suddenly thought, what is this anger doing? I'm not getting angry with him. He's left. All I'm doing is sitting there seething with anger. You just go over and switch the light off.
Yeah.
And that was it. All that pent up anger. If I thought he was doing it just to wind me up, well, then I wouldn't be with him in the first place. I knew that genuinely he was thinking, right, what do I need to do next? And switching the light bulb off just hadn't entered his mind. And go over and switch the light off. No drama. No.
Yeah. And do you do work with him? Is he open to the therapy as well?
You're not meddling in my head.
Oh, he won't. Okay.
No. Yeah, it's not a great idea to work on partners because it's a bit like operating on your own partner or teaching your partners to drive or something like that. You need that bit of separation.
I have definitely learned in doing the work I do. I used to question whether if one person changed in the relationship changes. And I've proven that to myself. You only need one person to do inner work on themselves and your whole relationship can shift.
Yeah.
I have begged my partner, just do the saboteur test. He will share my work with others, but he is not interested at all.
James is the same, and I respect him. And if he ever wants, he knows where I am. All right, my love. Listen, great talking to you.
Lovely. Thank you.
Great.